because it's our last piece before the test. So, here's what. We're going to be talking about domain and range. Now, I'm going to be really honest. You have seen this in 7th grade, and in 8th grade, and in 9th grade, but you probably, it didn't make a lot of sense. Because most teachers do is teach it. I'm going to just talk for a little bit, pretend it. So, they taught it in a book way. And here's what they told you. They told you domain are the X's, range are the Y's, and it didn't make a lot of sense. So here's what I need you to do. I need you to quietly listen. So imagine that coronavirus changed one more time, and this time now it causes you to become a zombie within 2 hours of getting it, and it's the most contagious ever. So my question is, could it be possible that within a week, if this new variant hits, is it possible within a week we could have 10 billion human zombies? Is that possible?
No.
Yeah, so right away I had people who told me that's not possible because there's not 10 billion people on Earth. There's 8 billion. We could have 8 billion zombies, but we can't have more than that. That is what we're talking about in real life. Some numbers work and some numbers don't work. And the numbers that work are called your domain and range, and the numbers that don't work we leave out. So we will do domain and range on almost every graph for the remainder of the year. So here's what I want to ask you about. So we've got our boy Kanye. He's decided to rehabilitate his image one last time. He follows you on Instagram, and he calls you up, and he says, hey, I will come and do a free concert for you. You can charge only $10 a person, because that I want it to be a nice thing to do for the Bay Area. But the only thing I'm going to request is that we do it, Jesse's putting away our phone, that we do it in your school gymnasium. So the first thing I want to know is, if this really happened, and if you put it out on social media, would it be possible for you to make $1 million off of this situation?
Hell yeah. For sure.
$1 million means 100,000 people fit into our gymnasium.
Yeah.
That could definitely be possible.
I think you could fit 5. I think at most you could fit 5,000.
No. 5,000.
In our school gym?
Yeah, you can stack it.
You don't understand.
Bro,
5,000.
You think it'd be more?
Less.
I think so too. I think it'd be about 2 at the most. I think it'd be 2. So the point of this is this. So watch this. Noah's watching me. The point is, you could have no one show up. Just you with your lighter having Kanye sing to you. So you could have just you show up, and that's okay. It's a little private movie for you. You can't have less than you. That would be ghosts showing up. So we don't have ghosts. That's weird. And maybe you could fit in 2,000 people. This right here is called domain. It means what's possible. What could you actually make possible happen? That is your domain. And how much money could you make? You could make $0 if it was just a concert for you and Kanye, or you could make maybe at most, not that it's bad, but you could make 20 grand. My point is this. Domain and range is what's actually possible. So here's the first thing I need you to write on your notes. Write this somewhere across the top. We're going to just do domain today because it's tricky to do them both together. Domain is easier because it goes left to right like we read. You guys all will struggle tomorrow. I'm going to take it a little slower tomorrow because we go down to up and our brains do not want to do that. They want to go up to down. So the first thing we want to do is know that domain is the side-to-side boundary. And we're going to learn to write it in 2 ways. You know one of them. The second way is new, and that's why you have to hang with me today. So to do domain, what you're going to want to do is figure out where would your little fences go, where would your boundaries go. So if you took your little pencil, you would say, my graph could be over here, and it could be over here, but that's it. There's no graph over here, and there's no graph over there. That is our domain. So when we write domain, we're going to write it like this. And it's going to say this. It's going to say the domain such that. Now you have to have the D because we're going to do R tomorrow. And if you don't tell me which is which, I don't know. And we start with the smallest side. And the smallest side on this one is -4. And we go to the biggest side. And the biggest side over here is a 6. Now we're going to want to fill in a few other things. We're talking about the x coordinate. So we're going to put a little x in the middle. And then this is the part that you hate, but I'm going to make it super easy for you. We use those inequality signs. And what I want you to think to yourself, if you like that little goofy way of remembering it, the alligators are going to eat the big number, which is why we always go little to big. In tonight's stuff and for the rest of the week, they will always go in this direction, right? Now there's only one other thing that we have to remember from 7th grade. If this point is actually part of your graph, and it is, we put a solid line underneath that one. And over here, it's part of our graph. We're going to put a solid line underneath that one. This is what we call inequality notation. And the reason we call it that is because it's got those little alligator mouths, the little inequalities. No lie, that's 7th grade. You didn't like it then, you don't like it now. But I'm going to teach you a new way that I love because it's so much easier. The new way says, well, wait a second, if I already know it's the D, do I even need that stupid X? My answer is no, you don't. So we're going to put a -4 and a 6. Now we always go little to big, that's how we do it. But now you're going to say, well, wait, how do I know if it's a solid dot or an open dot? And here's how. If the dot is solid, we want to put a really solid barrier around this guy, and that's called a bracket. Do you see how it's sharp and solid like a little wall? So we would say, hey, I'm going to put a little wall around this guy, and I'm going to put a little wall around this guy, and it works the exact same way. It tells you, for your domain, you can only use -4 to 6, and that's it, right? That's called interval notation. And all we're doing today is practicing this a few more times. That's it. Yes.
What if the 6 wasn't a solid dot?
How about that? We do that. You're so on fire. It's like I called you and asked you to help me out here.
Put an infinity sign?
We're going to get there next, after this. You're so good. So here's what we're going to do. Yes. Okay. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. First thing is, we're going to get our little barrier, right? I just make a little wall and think, okay, where am I going to go? The next thing I do, we're going to start with interval. We're going to start with inequality because it's not, we've done it before. So we're going to say D. Here's what I know. It's going to have an X, and it's going to have those little alligator mouths. Nice and easy. The only trick now is filling some stuff in. So we go all the way here to -7, and all the way over here to 5. And now this is what we say. If it's an open dot, we leave it. We say you can get damn close to 7, -7, like -6.99999, but we don't count it. But if it's a solid dot, make a solid line underneath that. So easy. But now the question is, okay, Ms. T, I got that. But the interval, how does it change? Here we go. We put the D. We don't even need any of that garbage stuff, math stuff, important math stuff. We're going to go -7 and a 5. Here's what's cool. The 5 is solid. It's a bracket. It's a hard-ass wall. You can't cross it. The other guy, soft, gentle. And that's it, right? So if it's a solid wall, make it a solid wall. If it's like close, not quite, but close, make it a really soft, it's a principle. Now you get to see what goes on in my head when I do this.
What if I was an arrow?
Huh? Oh, let's do that next. Let's do that next. What if it's an arrow? Great question. An arrow means it's never stopping. It's going on and on and on and on and on. There is a number that goes on and on and on forever. What is that number?
Sideways 8.
It's a sideways 8. It's infinity. But you know there are two types of infinity. There is negative infinity. That's getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. Negative, negative, negative. You owe more money and more money and more money. Or there is positive infinity. So here's what we're going to do on this one. We're going to get our little stick, our little barrier. There's a barrier here. No barrier on this one. He's getting infinity. So let's go ahead and try writing it and see how we do with this. We're going to say the domain. We're going to start with inequality. Get a little X. Get our little alligator mouths. I'm going to start with the big guy because that's nice and easy for me. It's right there at 3, and it's solid. It includes it. Yay! And then this one, guess what? I just get to keeps on going forever. I do my crazy little sideways H. But here's my question. Can you ever actually touch infinity? You can always add one more. You can always add one more. Yeah, it feels like you could, but you can't. So guess what? You're done. You're done. So here's what I want you to do with your neighbors. Can you write it in interval notation on your paper? You do it alone. Try interval notation right now. See if you can do interval notation. You guys are doing so good. Interval notation. Think about if you actually can't touch infinity, it's kind of soft. It's a soft one. It is a soft one. It's
Look at you. We don't like soft.
How did you do? Okay, here we go. Look at this crazy bad boy. We're almost done. I'm going to need you for like 3 more minutes. Okay, here we go. Jesse's watching me. Almost last 2, Jesse. Okay, you're with me. On this guy, he's going on and on forever in both directions. He's heading out this way. He's heading out this way. So the first thing I'd like you to do is write that in inequality, that's the alligator mouth, notation. You do it. Guess what? It's got some infinities. So throw some infinities on there. You try it. Throw some infinities on there. Now don't make them both plus infinity because one's getting smaller and smaller, one's getting bigger and bigger. So make sure you tell me which is which. Remember, we always go little to big. Always, always, always. Little to big, little to big. Plus 1.
Plus 1. And then they're both soft.
Yes, exactly. Juliana, again, I feel like you're going to put me out of a job up here. You are on fire. No, I'm happy. Now, for those of you who get a sad thrill out of writing something in a fancy way, there is one other way to do infinity, infinity. You don't have to do this ever. This is perfectly fine, but there is one other way, and I like doing it because I think it's pretty. And you can do this. See that fancy R with a line through it. And you know what that means? It means all numbers work. R stands for real numbers. And if you want to make the fancy pretty R, you can do that too. Only if you have infinity to infinity. That's the only time you get to do the fancy R. Do you have to do the fancy R? No, you don't have to do the fancy R. So, I am shutting up and I'm going to pass your homework out in a second, but I'd like you to try this one on your own, interval and inequality. You guys did great. I really worked it today. Now we did stuff like literally all period. And I'm on fire. It was a good day, huh? For a Monday. And I didn't want to get up this morning. I had a hard time getting up. I hate sea lions. 420. Ooh, oh, ah. Take a look. How did you do? Did you get that? Don't forget your D, especially on interval. If you don't have the D, I don't know if you're talking about domain or range. And tomorrow we do range. Boom, boom. Here's your homework. It is, I'd like you to do the 1 through, I'm going to say 1 through 8. The first half, inequality, second half, interval. Actually, just do 1 through 10, just 10. The answers will be up in about an hour. I've already done them. I will put them in Google Classroom. But first half. No, they'll say, do it in inequality. Do it in interval.
So just first.
Yeah, just the first half. You guys really focus. Bye, people. Love you. Talk to you later. I do.